Hey everyone. Just wanted to tell you how excited I am about this tonight. Um, so, a lot of you have been asking me about Tartaria and the Mudfloods. And to be honest, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. I try not to share stuff if I'm not really well versed in it because then I sound like an idiot. But what I can tell you this is if you ask me a question about something, if I don't know it or I'm not very well versed in it, I will find the best person that is, and I will bring them on. Um, and that is Missy, my friend Missy from Twitter. We've become very friendly, and she is going to take us down the Tartaria rabbit hole. And not only is she going to take us down the Tartaria rabbit hole, spoiler alert, but she thinks that it's a big psyop. So when I tell you you're getting black belt shit, you're getting black belt shit tonight. So we're gonna get into that, and just to let you guys know that I have my 8th book came in today. When I got home, it was just there, a ton of them. So if you guys want to pick them up through me, reach out to me on social media or get them on Amazon. I'm not just some random dude selling a book series. You know, this is the kind of stuff that I talk about on my channel. The reason you guys are here, it's all in book form, this and more. So into the rabbit hole series. So let me bring Missy on and we'll just get started right away.
Hey, how's
Hello.
it going?
It's good. You look fantastic.
Thank you. A nice studio setup will do that for you. It makes you sound good. It makes you look good. I think it's the way to go. It's the way of the future.
Pretty much. So I reached out to you. I don't remember when it was. Was it like a week or two ago? And I was like, listen, they keep bugging me to do Tartaria and the Mudfloods. I don't know shit about it, and I don't want to start researching it because I've already put my time into other things. I'm kind of spread thin. And you were like, it's a psyop. And I was like, okay, so not only does she know about it, but she has her own theory on why it just blew my mind. There's very few people on Earth, very few people at this point on Earth that can share information with me, and my jaw just drops, and you are one of them. So
Good. That makes me happy.
I look
That's
forward
what we're
to
here
it.
for, right?
That's what we're here for, yes. So where do we even start with this? Like, I don't even know what questions to ask. I'm sure they'll come, but start us off with this. So what's the whole deal with this? Kind of came out of nowhere, right? Like a year or two ago, it
No, I would
seems.
say it came out. It was probably 2017, 2018 was when it started becoming like catching on. But people have been talking about this for probably the last like 10 years, just in like small Reddit groups and things like that. It just became popular in like the conspiracy community about 4 years ago, I would say,
Yeah,
four or
yeah.
five
So
years ago.
it
Yeah.
is very recent. Yeah. So what is so intriguing about this? Because everyone's like, you got to read about the mud floods. You got to read about.
Because
I
it's the ultimate they lied to us scenario. Other things like flat earth, let's see what else, the Catholic Church, right? The Tartaria conspiracy doesn't offend anybody, so it's easy to talk about. And on top of that, it's like it's so proven, like literally there's CIA documents that point to it like existing, and the Russian government trying to cover it up by the Bolsheviks, who were actually funded by, guess who? Central banking system. So there is a grain of truth. Look, like any good conspiracy theory, there's just enough truth to the mud flood thing that people run with it.
Yeah. See, one of my favorite sayings that I usually say, and I put this in one of my books, Missy, is I say that when you have an infestation of mice and rats, right? You buy rat poison. But people think, without thinking, people think that it's just poison. It's not. Rat poison is 99% food. And then like that 1% cyanide.
Correct.
It's so there's a lot of truth in there, but there's just enough misinformation that it sends people down the crazy rabbit hole.
Yep. And then the sad thing is like some of the people that I respect the most in this community, like go balls deep in it. And I'm just like, dude, okay, like the mud flood thing is just, it's so weird. It's different than many of the other conspiracies. Like, it's one thing, like, you can believe that there's child trafficking, but to go to that next level and be like, oh yes, there is, actually satanic ritualistic abuse, that's a leap that a lot of people have a hard time jumping to. But for some reason, this mud flood thing, they just get right on it, no questions asked, and like they start looking at videos that are like geared towards that demographic, and they don't do their own research. They just watch videos, repeat information. They're being shown pictures, some of them that are AI produced in these different YouTube documentaries, which that's, I'm using that term so loosely. Like the 10-minute, like breaking down Tartaria. And then you got the people that are hardcore, like it's all bullshit, all of it, right? And there's no facts. I mean, there's like just enough facts. It's like, here's the map. And that's it. These people are just making it up. Like, there's that part. And then there's the people that are like all in. They're like, aliens did mud flood, the human reset, Klaus Schwab has the button, he's going to push the mud flood button again. Like, there's two different factions of it. But like, there's a very fine line in the middle that a lot of people, for some reason, cannot seem to like stay close to. I do not understand what the appeal is, other than the fact that it has to be something that doesn't offend anybody. It's something we can prove with maps and stuff. And again, like, it's like the flat earth thing. Why do people appeal so much to flat earth? It's not like if the earth is flat or if the earth is round, it's going to change inflation. It's not like if the earth is round or the earth is flat, that it does anything to like make our lives better. It's something we literally cannot control. Yes, we might be able to like shine some light on some things, but that's one of those things that if it is this great of a conspiracy that's been going on this long, like talking about it in like chat rooms or like Twitter spaces or like Reddit forums or like arguing like with Joe Rogan about it or whatever, that is not going to make it a true thing. It's not going to make it a fake thing. It's going to do absolutely nothing. It's a waste of time and energy. I'm not saying the earth is flat or the earth is round. Honestly, again, like you were suspect about doing any research on Tartaria because deep down inside, you knew that it would be a rabbit hole that there's really not a lot of point of going down. And you knew you were going to probably be fed a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. Part of the when you're in the conspiracy theory, part of the thing that you have to realize is that you have to know when to pull out of a conspiracy. You have to, because what happens is when you first get into these conspiracies, your mind wakes up and like you get this burst of energy, and then your mind flips from nothing is true to everything I read is true. And then you have to kind of like fix that along the way.
It reminds me of born again Christians. Like when people first like bring Jesus right into their life, or they join one of those churches where I love it. I'm like, these people, they're going to judge each other for everything, but they're all on a roller coaster at church because they all have their hands up, right? Like they all have their hands up. And it cracks me up because like those people, the ones that are terrified to do any actual research on like where the Bible came from, they don't know that Jesus was like fighting the Romans. They don't know any of this stuff. They don't know anything about it, but they're willing to fight you, right? And argue you into a corner and never back down about the stuff they read in the King James Bible, who made demonology. And they don't even know any of this. They don't know who the person who made it is. They don't know where it came from. They don't know who these books are attributed to. And they will argue you into a corner. But at the same time, they want to tell everyone the good news. I'm saved. I'm part of a community now. Yes, we don't like Cheryl. She wore a red dress. So Jesus erased her and he took out a big eraser and went, oh, Cheryl's out. She's out. Right. She's out of the book of life. Oh, never mind. She came back down to the front of the church and recommitted her life to Christ. She's back in. She's back in. Write her back in the book, God. Like these people have the same enthusiasm that people that get into conspiracy theories rather than conspiracy analysts like myself and yourself, people that get into the conspiracy theories have that excitement. They're just like a brand new Christian. And in the same aspect, they have such a low educational breadth of knowledge to pull from that it really is just like someone who just literally like last week committed their life to Christ. And they want to argue with you about the Bible being true or not, or what was in it or who made it. Like it's the same deal. Everyone likes to look smart. Everyone likes to know like they didn't get one over on me. I mean, that is appealing to everyone across like, cultures and all. It's always been like one of those things where like this guy who's a whistleblower, that name comes with like a certain degree of, clout to it. But at the end of the day, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I'm sorry if I said it on the last one, but I really do think that like we need to have like some sort of like black belt system or karate belt system. So I can be like, that's a yellow stripe. I have nothing to talk to him about. I cannot talk to him. It'd be like fighting a toddler. I'm not going to fist fight a toddler. He's not going to understand half the shit I'm talking about anyways. There's really no point, right? And then there's people that are me and you and like some of the other people that we're friends with that are like triple black belts that know way too much about way too much. And it's to the point now where I let everybody else below me like wake people up, and I just catch people up.
Yeah. You know what? For this right here, why Christians do this in church. You know what this is? This is.
I mean, I just assume it's a roller coaster.
No. This goes.
This
back,
is so much fun.
It goes back to the Egyptians with Akhenaten, the sun god.
Bring
You
that
go
back
out
on.
and you greet the sun in the
Put back on the
morning.
praise stage.
That's how you greet the sun in the morning during the Egyptian time.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised.
Yeah. So take me through Tartaria.
Amen.
Yeah.
Literally. Amen. 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 Ra.
Amen. Ra. Yeah. So take me through the Tartaria. How did you first hear about it? Take me through your journey with understanding it.
Back when the YouTube algorithm wasn't so bitchy, for lack of a better word, back before like they were concerned about advertisements, before the ad apocalypse, like back in like this is 2017, and YouTube is still very much a wild west, and stuff. There was the algorithm was like, you know, you like this, and they actually showed you stuff that you liked. And this guy came up and oh my God, I have his email. I cannot remember his name. Barnabas Nagy. That's who it was. It was Barnabas Nagy. And he had done a series of videos, and I was researching stuff for biblical purposes. Like I was looking up, you know, biblical archaeology, the naked archaeologist, and he like popped up, and I was like, what? This guy's saying I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. We've got all these buildings that are like 300 years old. My son actually goes to a school that is, you know, it's First Baptist Church, as in church, First Baptist Church, like the First Baptist Church in America. And the building was designed by Robert Mills. So like when someone says to me, there's been a mud flood, and I'm just like, wait, this guy's crazy. There's no way. And I'd heard the Tartaria thing a couple, 3 times over the years, but I never really got into it. I knew about the maps. I knew that it was a culture. I knew that it was a, you know, an empire. I knew that it had something to do with Genghis Khan, but I really didn't deep dive into it because like, I'm like, oh, well, you know, just they got the history wrong again. At the time, I wasn't passionate about that yet. And I saw his video pop up, and it was about this mud flood stuff. And it got me thinking. And first thing I realized is the mud flood thing is completely off, because if there was a mud flood everywhere, right? Why is my hometown, Charleston, South Carolina, not have any mud flood damage that dates to the time that they were saying that these happened? Now, granted, Chicago was raised, what was it, like by 12 feet, 15 feet? I can't remember. You have to ask Rantcast. He's the expert. He knows everything about it, and the World's Fair stuff too. But Chicago was like raised a certain number of feet. That's weird. All the tunnels, that stuff's weird. But that doesn't mean that there's been a mud flood, you know? So I looked at this and I was like, I got to prove this guy wrong. And I went down a rabbit hole. And like, you know, 2 months later, I came up being like, okay, this is what happened. And never once have I come across not a single piece of evidence, not a single paper, not a single article, not a single actual picture that can prove there was a worldwide mud flood that was part of a reset. I feel like that's the thing that they want to draw the eye to, you know, sleight of hand, you know, the lizard people, the big they. I refuse to call them elites, so I just call them lizard people because they hate it. So the big they love this because look here, not there, because they did hide history.
So when you think of a mud flood, do you think of kind of like a mud avalanche? I'm sorry if these questions are very like basic.
Well, an avalanche would have to come from a higher source,
right,
to a lower source. We were at sea level here. Trust me, if there was an avalanche, boom, right here, right, there would be evidence here in Charleston of it. There's just not. And there's a guy that did like a 3-hour video, and I watched the whole damn thing. And it sucks because on YouTube, you can't like talk back to the person and be like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. I had like 3 pages of notes where he was wrong. And I was going to like say something. And then I was like, nah, there's no point. There's no point. What I'll do is I'll just follow him. And the next time he comes in my area, I will take him myself on a tour and be like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And we can go over it then. There's no point of like me going after him like in comments or like trying to get in touch with someone that doesn't have like a Twitter. Like there's no point. There's no validity that comes from that. It's not going to change anything. All it's going to do is make me look like an asshole, and it's going to make him look more right.
So define for people who are new to this, kind of like I am too, because I started to go down the rabbit hole, and you're 100% right. I started to go down some videos. I saw some pictures of like buildings slanted, and I was like, no, and I just left it.
Well, there's earthquakes, floods, snowstorms, blizzards, actual flooding from actual rivers. There's all kinds of other reasons that these things could happen. Also, we noticed throughout the entire history of the world is when you go to an archaeological site like Troy, right? You've got your like burnt level, right? And you got like different categories of different like groups of people that lived on those in these ancient sites. Carthage, where you dig through and you find out, okay, this is where this is where this is, this is where that is. There's a burn level, and then in cities they rebuilt, like London. It's understandable that a city that is older is going to have stuff underneath it and stuff over the top of it. That's just how we've always done it. We've just built up the land around it, and you're like the city on the hill, right? Well, that's what that is. You literally build on top of the old because you can't. There was no way back then to remove all the rubble. There's no way. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, and like half the city is built on dead bodies because we just threw them in the hole and built something over the top of it. Because we built off like an entire like portion of downtown just off of like fire rubble from like 3 fires that we had, and like earthquake rubble and like dead bodies and like whatever we could throw in that hole to build up the marsh. And that's why we're below sea level. But still, we did that here too. So that's normal for everywhere else in the world. Every single civilization, no matter how, if it's over 150 years and they've had some sort of catastrophe, no matter what it is, whether it's a fire or an earthquake or whatever, they just take all that stuff, bury it, and build on top of it because they didn't have the resources to move these things out of the city. There was no way to do that. They had horse and carts.
That's a great point. So define, if you could sum up the Tartaria mudflood conspiracy for new people who want to understand this, because you're throwing a lot of good information out there about reasons why it wouldn't work. But I don't think people understand yet what exactly the Tartaria and the mudflood is. So if you could just break that down real quick.
Okay, so the thing is like there's an ancient, how do I start? Okay. Tartaria is an ancient empire, not even so much ancient because it existed like, in some places up until the 17th, 18th centuries, depending on the area that you're talking about. But the Tartarians were a race of people that established a huge portion of Europe. They're known to be in North Africa. There's even maps showing them in South America. There are, countless mummies, things that are found that can date these people as having red hair, blue eyes, being Caucasian. Genghis Khan was Tartarian. He was a black Tartarian, which meant that not that he was black, but that he lived outside of the gates of China. And that's why he was called a black Tartarian. And then there's the wild Tartarians. There's 3 different kinds. And that these were an actual race of people. They had a flag. They had an empire. There's countless maps that can prove to you this is the map. This is where they were located. This is the territory that they took over. And the end of that giant empire, I would say, would be actually the Mongolian Empire, which Mongolian isn't even like the name that anybody else called them. That's the name that Genghis Khan decided to call themselves. It means Mogul.
Okay.
Because he wanted to unite
the. You want me to pull up? You want me to pull up one of the maps?
Sure. Yeah. Because it just shows to you like how. This is a real place. It's a real group of people. It's that grain. It's that grain. That big chunk of truth that makes the grain of a lie like float to the top.
All right. So let's start with. Can you see this?
I cannot.
All right. Hold on. Fuck me. Hold on. Oh, I'm retarded. Hold on. But you knew that already. Hold on.
It's okay. Same team.
Here we go. Present. I keep forgetting I'm not using Zoom. Zoom is so simple with this stuff.
It is, but it's not as like tailored. So
through this. What is this?
Okay, yeah. So this is one of the maps of Grand Tartaria, and it goes all the way up to the Bering Strait. And that's where you actually find, I forget the name, they're a Christian sect. They were Black Tartarians as well, the Kingdom of Carthage. And that was like, they were hardcore Christians. You got to remember the Russians, when the Bolsheviks took over, they had a campaign to wipe these people out. So you had everything from like the people that were up in the corner that were hardcore, Christian faith carrying Tartarians to the Mongols that were in the lower part of Tartaria. But I want you to see where China is. And then I want you to think about where the Great Wall is.
Right.
And then I want you to tell me that the Chinese people were the ones that built the Great Wall. Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the Chinese who did.
Wow, girl.
The theory, and it's not just me saying this. There's a lot of Robert Seffer. There's different anthropologists and different people that have studied this stuff that agree that the Great Wall of China was not, in fact, built by the Chinese at all. It was built by the Mongols to keep the Chinese in, not to keep the Mongols out.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's that one's done. So let me show the other one. Where are you? Where are you? There we go. I'm getting the hang of this. Here we go. This is the map.
Okay, yeah. So that shows you how the expanse of how it even like it shows it at the border of North Africa. Y'all, that's knocking on the gates of freaking Egypt. Okay, and this is not Mongolian Tartaria. Yeah. This is not Mongolia. It doesn't say anywhere there Mongolia, right? It says Tartaria. And then look at how small Russia is. Now, what do they tell you about the history of Russia?
Give me a time frame on these maps if you can.
There should be a date on it.
Is there a date on it? I don't see it. I see the use of AE for Egypt, so I'm thinking one way.
Yeah, it's so hard to like get, because when you zoom in, you miss stuff. So like I have to like go off of videos that other people have done so I can get a good zoom in of the map. Like with my, because I screenshot this stuff, you know. Hang on, I'll tell you right now. Just give me one shot.
So basically, the Tartaria Empire, you can call it an empire, right?
Yes. Oh, I think I cut it off. I'm an asshole. Okay. But this is like before the 1200s.
From your research. Okay, so from your research, the Tartaria Empire went from when to when?
Honestly, it's questionable. We don't have a specific date. Again, there's a CIA document that was released by the CIA as part of a disinformation campaign, or information campaign, I should say. And let me pull the notes real quick. In 1999, a CIA document was released to the public domain, written in 1957, suggesting that the Soviet government set out to erase certain aspects of the Tartarian history from the official record. And you have to remember that this is after the Bolsheviks, who were funded by the major banks, took over Russia, and they literally annihilated all the records. It's gone. They went after the people. They would deport them. They would, after the Bolshevik revolution took place, the Tartars were targeted for extermination due to the fact that the Tartar leaders and their intellectual elite wanted independence. They were eliminated through execution and exile, and this policy continued until the late 50s, when it was brought to attention of the CIA.
So when you talk about Tartaria and the Mudfloods, are those two separate things, or are they intertwined?
The Mudfloods I don't think are real at all, but Tartaria is very much.
So why do they always combine Tartaria and the Mudfloods?
Why do you think I lied? Why do I think they lied about it?
No. Why do they? Why do you always hear about them together?
I have no fucking idea. Because we've got dum-dums that are out there that don't do their research, that heard from somebody else, It's a big game of conspiracy telephone. I really do not understand why they would equate the two. I guess because, again, we know that there's organizations out there that have alphabet letters in their name, usually 3, that like to mess with the narrative. And if we know, let's just say Russian disinformation is a real thing, right? And we know that they went to erase all their records back in the up to the 1950s and erase the people, literally erase the people, genocide the people, right? What makes you think for 1 second that they weren't messing with stuff then just like they are now, and now this is the narrative that we got, and somebody picked up a piece of it and they're like, oh well, this is what happened, and the Russian disinformation is we don't want you to know about what happened with Tartaria, so we'll give you this thing that sounds ridiculous instead.
Okay.
Just saying.
So
makes a lot more sense than the entire world got mud flooded, but yet nobody has a memory of that. There's no diary entries.
So is that the conspiracy?
There isn't any of that.
Is that the conspiracy that the entire world had a mud flood?
Yes.
That was brought on by what?
They think that there was an entire civilization that was wiped out that had Tesla, stuff, and different electrical abilities, and these buildings, this is why this building only lasted they built it for 18 years and then they knocked it down 2 years later. That's why. And I'm like, dude, no, because the property became worth more and the building had too much debt, or the building started crumbling because they didn't know what the hell they were doing, or they had immigrants that were working for them and didn't want to pay them. There's a million reasons why. that could happen. But they're not always like, no, it's the flood. It's the mud flood. It knocked all these buildings out. I'm like, well, why aren't they just sticking half of them out the ground then? Like you said, happened in other places. Why is this building like not cool enough? So they have like Tartarian architecture. And I'm sitting there going like, the real architecture, like conspiracy here, isn't that. It's the fact that the people in Easter Island have the same stone structures that people in Egypt, and the people in Egypt have the same stone structures that people in freaking Machu Picchu, and like all these different locations are called the belly button of the world, right? And Tartaria is actually what's it called? Ah, damn it, my brain. The Cathay Kingdom or whatever, that was those northern people from Tartaria. They also call themselves the beginning of the world. So there you go. Like they don't want us to know what we are capable of. They don't want us to know what our real history is. Now, for that reason, there's a million scenarios we can come up with. And I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going to tell you what I know to be fact from documents, from like things that I can find that I can like, this is this, and I can't prove that. And I think that there's a lot of lies out there because it's just more convenient to believe the woo than it is to like do the research.
Do you think it's important to understand the why they're doing this, or just the fact?
No, I don't, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why they're. There's a million reasons why.
You don't care why they're so terrified of us finding.
No, I mean, I care. When it comes to like satanic ritualistic abuse, I care about that. I care about the why there because it proves why they're doing it. The why has everything to do with the action. But in this case, like this is just simply they want to cover up the history of everything because that gives them control. Because if you know your past, then you can't see the next thing coming.
Does it have anything from what you can gather? And I know I'm gonna like
do I have any proof?
Your mind right now. Does this have anything?
Years of research? I haven't found anything hardcore yet. Nothing. Not one single mud flood. Like not one.
Does this have anything to do at all with? Can you tie this in to forcing the biblical narrative?
No, actually, because the narrative that goes with this has nothing to do with the biblical narrative. Now, again, that's another one of those subcultures that you get with Tartaria is people that want to argue that Genghis Khan was a Christian and he was trying to spread Christianity throughout the world. And I myself have probably even repeated that at one point or another on a podcast talking about Tartaria. But from what I can find, that I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think they're trying to cover up that we were all at one point connected as cultures. And these things that are not of that culture came in, took over, and they've got dark, nefarious, plans for the human race.
Right.
I mean, did you know? Okay, let me just go over a couple like real quick facts. This is gonna blow your mind.
Everything.
So, hang on one second. So you've heard the rumor that Genghis Khan, he's the one that raped so many people that now he's got more kids than anybody else and more descendants.
They say that like 10% of every man is
right.
genetically related to him.
Let me explain something to you. I actually I texted you earlier the link to that paper that they did. Do you know how they figured out that it was Genghis Khan? Now, when Genghis Khan died, we don't know what he died of. We don't know where he was buried, right? How can they definitively prove that these are the descendants of Genghis Khan? Well, you know what they did? They went to, I'm going to read it to you, the American Journal of Human Genetics, and everyone's heard this rumor. And that's the thing, it is a rumor. It's presented as fact in newspapers and magazines, but it's not fact. Basically, the American Journal of Human Genetics did a study that found that 0.5% of the world's male population, because you can't test the females because the Y's pass directly through, so it's a direct descendants, right? 0.5%. 0.5% of the world's male population were Genghis Khan's descendants. 8% of men living in his territory have identical Y chromosomes, right? They focus on the Y because it's passed from father to son. In the 2003 genetic study that they researched, 5,000, that's how they came up with this, 5,000 blood samples were collected over a period of 10 years from more than 40 populations, right, inhabiting the areas where Genghis Khan was known to have as part of his Mughal empire. And so they were like, well, they all have something in common, so it must be Genghis Khan. Literally, like, it's the dumbest.
It's literally just an inference?
It is such bullshit. I sent it to you. Please
link
it in the description of this video so people can see how ridiculous the study is. So
kind of like if they dig up like bones and like 100 years from now, they'll find that like 10% of everyone's related to Nick Cannon.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
So
or Nick Cannon. or Elon Musk.
It's confirmation bias at its worst. When you go to look, the whole point of being a scientist is to prove that this can't be related, rather than trying to prove that it is related. Because if you try to prove that something is related, you're going to find evidence. Your brain is going to trick you. You're going to have confirmation bias. You're going to find what you're looking for. If you go out seeking problems and trouble, guess what? You're going to find problems and trouble, right? But if you go out like seeking goodness, sometimes you find problems and trouble, and you're like, well, I can rule out that it's this. I can rule out that it's that. This is the most unscientific scientific study that I've ever seen in mainstream news. If you go look up, Google Genghis Khan related to men, population of the world, and just see all the bullshit. Everyone from Time Magazine to National Geographic, and everyone quoted this study. And I'm like, did any of you fuckfaces read this shit? This is the most unscientific way to come up with a conclusion.
But okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a second, Missy. Is it possible that everybody is related to some specific person? Maybe it's not Genghis Khan, but it's definitely one person that like had 7,000 kids.
Well, I actually did research on that, and what I found was, give me 1 second, I'll pull it up. Genghis Khan's kids. I hope I didn't leave that downstairs, but I might have. Crap. Okay, downstairs. That's okay. Basically, like, Moulay Ismail, the monarch and the emperor of the Moroccan Alawite, right? A dynasty that ran from 1672 to 1727. He had 1,171 children, right? And if you do the math, like let's just say like some guys out there getting major trim, right? Unlimited women, no one can say no. If you have 3 kids, right, a day, in your lifetime, you're gonna have 65,700 kids. If you have 10 babies a day, right, like you knocked up 10 women were fertile and got pregnant at the right time, right? Because you just had somebody, you weren't running an empire. You just had some guy moving chicks to your lap all day, every day, like just next, like, right. If you have 10 kids a day, you end up with 219,000 children, okay? So what are the chances? Again, this is impossible because no one's done a study on this. There is no hypothetical. Everyone's like, well, technically, if you have this many sperm, and you have this many babies. And I'm like, you guys are idiots. You guys are asking the wrong questions. There's not a lot of studies on this. But again, the guy from the dynasty from 1672 to 1727, who's the closest, of that kind of absolute power that I could come up with, he did have 1,171 children. But here's the kicker. The people that claim Genghis Khan, matter of fact, the tribe that they used to claim Genghis Khan, if you want a second, I can pull it up and tell you what the name of them are. The tribe that claimed them, that they used as the most definitive evidence, quote unquote, they actually were very, very dark. They were, I think in that I gotta pull it up. I'm sorry. I don't want to get it wrong. I looked at so much stuff today. It's starting to like pool in my brain. Oh, and of course I can't find the stupid freaking article. The people that they asked questions about, the people that they said, this is it. They got it in our culture. It's in their mythos. Like he had to have been here. It had to have been Genghis Khan's people. And they claimed Genghis Khan as their ancestors. These people are dark as Kanite. They are very brown people. But here's the kicker. Did you know that Genghis Khan had red hair, a red beard, blue and green eyes, was tall, right? And looked like a European dude. Did you know that? The Tartarians were white people, bro. Yes, the original Tartarians were white people. Matter of fact, when you look at the mummies that they find in China, they all have red hair, right? Some of them have elongated skulls, but they have red hair, and those date back to 4,000 years ago. They're all white. There's no Asian, like there's none, not one found, right? There's pyramids. They find artifacts. Everyone's, the monks, when you think of a monk, right? What do you think of? You think of like an Asian guy, an East Asian guy, right? No. The original monks were all redheaded with red beards and blue and green eyes and were tall and skinny. And there's all this artwork. And a lot of it was defaced, interestingly enough. But there is some that still survives of these monks, and they're all redheaded.
So,
matter of fact, there's no definitive proof that the people that live in China now that we consider to be Chinese, there's zero definitive proof other than their own history that they provided to us that say otherwise, that they were any other, like that they weren't white. And I know that's messed up, and I'm not saying that I'm defending that. Like, obviously, I'm just giving you guys facts. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter to me. But yes, They had 3 different kinds of tribes. This is according to the Chinese. There were the white Tartars, who were farmers living immediately beyond the Great Wall of China. There were black Tartars, who were nomads living in present-day Mongolia. And then there were wild Tartars, who were living without khans in the southern part of Siberia, governed by chiefs and shamans. Okay. Genghis Khan was freaking white. Buddha. Did you know what Buddha looked like? Not until more modern days do you get the depiction of him being a fat, jolly, like, you know, Asian guy. No, he was actually red hair, red beard, tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. And there's depictions of him like this. And that's why the monks would that's why they would be chosen to be monks and shit. Did you know that?
No.
So if Genghis Khan is white, red hair, red beard, blue-green eyes, then why are these extremely brown people? Why are they saying that this is their ancestor? And why are these scientists going, yep, that's the guy? Except there's no description of him ever being what you would think of being East Asian. It's not true.
That is mind-blowing. That is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, go look it up for yourself. Like, guys, I encourage everyone to do their own research. Like, I've all the accounts of Genghis Khan was that he was redheaded, red beard, tall, freaking white dude.
So where did that?
So why are they saying that all these people in Asia are related to him? Because in reality, like, that would be kind of weird. I mean, not entirely impossible. You know, the way that genetics work, you know, you can pollute the genetic pool until you get back to, you know, someone being East Asian. But you got to remember, East Asian people, there was no definitive proof of them living. No mummies, no art. We've got the pictures they have themselves, right? But again, we also have, like, how many, like, millennia of people giving us their history, you know, and telling us as to who these people are. Dude, the mummies are all freaking white.
So, but check this out, though. We know that red hair and blue eyes are very recessive genes. And we also know.
Yes. We also know that
Asians have incredibly strong genetics. If you are a woman and you marry an Asian dude, your kids are going to look Asian. They have very strong genetics. So you're saying Genghis Khan came from like a weaker genetic pool. And so, yeah, go on.
But here's the kicker. Mummies in Egypt have red hair. Mummies in Peru have red hair.
So you're saying that this whole idea that
it's
in
all
Egypt,
connected to the same theory, bro. That's why
they weren't
critical.
brown. So they weren't brown at all.
No, they weren't brown people. No, they were not brown people. Yes, you can go look that up. Go look up pictures.
That throws
of Buddha.
Like the Hebrew Israelites thing down the drain.
I'm just telling you what the archaeological evidence says. There's no way to paint that in any corner. There's no way for me to paint that to be anything other than what it is. I'm just giving you, like, literally, I wrote down the facts and I'm reading you off bullet pointed, like, facts from, like, scientific journals and, like, archaeological papers.
You've also sent me other pictures. Should we go through a couple of them?
Sure.
All right. So let's see what else we going on here. It's kind of popping.
I wish I should have thought to send you the ones of Genghis Khan. Yeah.
All right. Let's do these in order. So what is?
Okay, so remember how I said that all these cultures are connected? I remember how I talked about what's it called in the northern world? Cathay or whatever. Cathay, I think is what it's called. Prester John talked about it. Cathay, how they all have these similar belly button of the world. Easter Island, the reason it's called Rapa Nui is because it means the belly button of the world. Cusco in Peru means the belly button of the world. There's actually a whole list of places you can Wikipedia of it, the navel of the world, right? But here's the kicker: Easter Island is supposed to be the belly button of the world. This is their writing, and if you look underneath it, this is what the writing from Mohenjo-daro. Look at the similarities. That's in South Asia.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Explain to me where Easter Island
this is the perfect time for you to show that video that I sent you. So people can understand why all this was connected and why Tartaria is the key, because this is the later version of these. They somehow retained, I think, a lot of these memories and a lot of this, because remember, they burnt the Library of Alexandria. They burnt the books in Timbuktu. They burnt everything they could get their hands on in South America, right? So what do these Tartarian people have that they wanted so badly to destroy? Well, I'll tell you this much. It's probably the stuff that we're missing that links all these cultures.
Wow.
They found Chinese, listen, and they're called, again, if we can agree that 4,000 years ago, there were mummies that are all white people, right, in China, right? And they built pyramids in China, right? And then they found Chinese anchors off the coast of Catalina. And then you look at the depictions of the glyphs and the Aztec, Incan and Mayan temples, and you look at that, and you look at Japanese dragons that are depicted in the Chinese dragons and all that are depicted in their older books and papers and their drawings that exist. And if you look at them side by side, you go, these are very similar. And if there's Chinese so-called anchors off the coast of Catalina, right? And we know these were white people, and we know that it was part of their culture, that the reason that they allowed the conquistadors, come on, step on in and worship you as gods, because of the theory, or excuse me, the mythos that they were going to have a white dude with a red beard come back.
Jesus. And
and there are maps of Tartaria. This was super hard to find. I could not find it today, even though I looked for probably 2 hours. But there are maps that I have put my eyes on personally. There's somewhere in my hard drive, I'm sure, that's unplugged and hidden in a wall somewhere. But they've got maps where it shows Tartaria going all the way to South America.
So you think that with Tartaria had
the last real history, and they stomped them out.
And every culture had a way of. Okay, so before we were
all have the same stones. They all have the same striations. They all set the stones in the same exact
we were talking
models.
about the energy grid on the planet before. Mm-hmm. You said you couldn't tie it into it yet, but I was wondering what. No, but
that's definitely something that's put to the side, because we do know about the Schumann resonance, and we do know that there is something more to that. Again, we're depending on these Rockefeller education scientists, right? We're depending on them to tell us the truth, when we really just need to be going out there and doing the research ourselves and getting our hands on books.
Right.
So we have all the same resources they have. There's no reason why we shouldn't have more information and more people that are out there being scholars.
See, there's one thing that I came in and found out about, with my astrotheology work, when I see a constellation or I see an animal name and you can link it to a constellation and then it forms patterns, and then I've been doing all that. So I've been doing that. And one of the things I realized is they used to talk about the pig. So I looked to see when the pig constellation came, and it was called the constellation Porcus. And the pig constellation, supposedly, we're talking about people figuring things out at the same time or sharing information over long periods of space. The pig constellation, Porcus, was supposedly discovered by the Greeks in the 5th century BC. But guess what? The Chinese had the pig in the zodiac already.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's been hidden when it comes to...
When you look that up, it shows 5th century BC.
But I forget which month.
In Ptolemy's list in 150 AD, which is where we know the 48 constellations that they knew about at the time, he never listed the pig. Even though supposedly the Greeks and the Chinese figured out the pig around the same time, 650 years before. So people don't, Missy, just explain to people your method of research, because I don't think people understand how much research someone like me and you actually does, and how we go into it, and how we know what's bullshit.
Just for this, these are all my notes. I just did for this. Just for this. These, yes, I do the work. I'm not just repeating what I saw in a video that somebody showed me from someone that doesn't have the notes, that aren't reading off, a piece of paper. People drag on people like me, because they're you need to look at the audience. You need to be talking to the audience. You're supposed, you can't just remember this stuff. No, you can't just remember this stuff. Because dude, right? It's I have a book right here, and it's impossible. So if they're not reading off a piece of paper when they're telling you these kinds of facts, I wouldn't trust them, because there's no way someone can remember all that.
Do you have do you have a little bell in your head like I do when you're reading something and then it makes a hard turn and you realize it's bullshit?
Yes.
See, a lot of people don't have
reading
that.
Between the headlines.
A lot of
reading
people
between
don't
the lines.
have it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people aren't walking in the truth, though, sweetheart. A lot of people are watching YouTube videos and going off of someone else's word that told them something or showed them something, or they hear it third party and they hear it on a podcast with Eddie, Bravo, and they regurgitate it and they don't actually look at it. It takes time to actually read. It takes time to actually do the research. And then my favorite's when they want to argue with you. Oh, that's the best. Because I'm just like, I don't argue with idiots. I'm not gonna know which one of us is the idiot. So you just go ahead. But I mean, what I found is like you can see it I can read the newspaper, right? Or not the paper because nobody does that anymore. But I can read like the local app for my local news. And I can read between, I'm like, that's a narrative, that's bullshit, this is probably what really happened. Everybody has to do, you have to get to this point where, especially these days when we cannot trust the media, you have to like turn on that bell that makes you identify like BS. And the crazy thing is, again, like, and I recommend everybody do this. First of all, I keep a composition notebook. And if I have an idea and I don't know where it fits, or I want to go back and look at it, I write it down on the freaking notebook. And I indexed it. Like I said, I went and put a number on each and every page of the composition notebook. And at the beginning of the notebook, I wrote down all the page numbers. And the rule is when I close the book after I write down what was on that page, I have composition notebooks full of just ideas, things that I want to research, things that I don't believe in, things that and research that proves that is wrong. I've got countless like papers and like notebooks about this kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, like, you have to look at every single one, but it's all a big puzzle. It's like having a giant puzzle and someone's dumped 10,000 years, 20,000 years of history and archaeology and science and math and freaking quantum physics and everything else. Like, they dump it all on your lap and go, make a puzzle out of this, like, make a picture. And I'm sitting there sifting through the pieces, going, okay, well, this one goes here, this one goes there. I don't have a picture. I don't know what the big picture is. I just know that if this goes with this, and 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 this, and this, that maybe a picture is going to form one day. And the more pieces I put together in the puzzle, the bigger the picture gets. But the thing that sucks is the more puzzle that I get, the more pieces that fit together, the more freaking puzzle pieces show up. So I feel like I'm never going to get done.
But do you feel like, how do I put this? The information that you come across, do you, just like you can dismiss something when you know that it's off, does like a light bulb fire off in your head when you know something is so on the money too?
I can feel it. I can feel it in my chest, especially when people want to argue about it. That's my favorite. I can't tell you how many Twitter spaces I've been kicked out of because I'm like, wrong. Here's 3 pages. You're wrong. I got 3 pages of things you got wrong. I'm glad you guys finally got to my mic because here's what happened. And they'll kick me out the room before I get to finish. Because I'm just like, wrong. And here's why. Like, and I can't help it. And it's not because I'm like trying to be a smart ass or I think I'm better than them or I think I'm like, or I'm trying to show off or try to look cool. It's because like literally like we have to be so careful. It's one thing to like believe something. It's another thing to have to believe something and pass it on to other people that they're going to believe it. Now you're responsible. So I feel like people don't even run your mouth. If you have a question about something, don't even run your mouth about it till you've done your research. Then go find whoever will listen to you and do what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
But keep it to yourself. Like, do the research first.
Where's the origin of the tall, blue-eyed, red-headed people then? Where's that genesis come from?
Oh, there's a lot. Again, now we got to dig through mythos. Now we got to dig through, Books of the Dead, all these different like Bhagavad Gita's, all this stuff. I haven't gotten there yet. What I do know is that the archaeological record has shown temples that are decorated with these things. Buddha being, redhead beard, accounts from Genghis Khan that he was redheaded and white as F. Like he's probably Bill Burr being like, should have been a roofer. Right? Can you imagine like an entire like empire of just Bill Burrs going out there being like, I don't agree with you. Right? Genghis Khan, I want to just listen to this real quick. In 25 years, with 100,000 soldiers, Genghis Khan conquered more land and more peoples than the entire Roman Empire did in 400 years. Yeah. No wonder they hate white men.
Yeah, right.
There it is right there.
So, like, who does it benefit to change Buddha from, like, looking like an Irish wrestler to...
I don't know. For the same reason that, Kim Jong-un, like, tries to look like his grandfather. It's a mystery why you would want to, like, have diabetes to try and, like, win over your people when they have to listen to you anyways. I don't understand. I guess that's in their cult. Again, It's a completely different culture. So I'm not even gonna like pretend that I know what I'm talking about when I say this. So, allegedly, what I think is like, I think it's just part of their culture of like how they feel about people of that size and people of that girth and people that, fat people tend to be happier people.
Right.
Except for in America.
Well,
Where,
wasn't being heavy a sign of it was a sign of wealth because you could
sign of
afford to
wealth
eat,
too.
right?
Yes, and they wanted Buddha to bring them wealth and auspiciousness and like bless them and like red money, giving ancestors cakes and things like that. Certain foods being hot or being cold and that making you sick. There's a lot of crazy tigers. Clearly like we've got a problem there where they're like, oh, we'll just put it in a tea. You'll feel better. Like it's a completely different culture. So I can't explain that to you because I am not an expert on Chinese culture. What I do know is that it was changed. And when you look at these temples, a lot of them were defaced. But archaeologists, there's countless videos where they're like, you can see here where they had red hair. Like these monks. Okay, and here's another thing. These monks, like in China and in Russia as well, after the Boxer Rebellion and like right before World War I, or even after World War One, there was and I can't remember the guy's name. I've been trying to find this video. If anybody finds it, email it to me, franticbooking@gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter. Frantic Missy @Frantic Missy, this video. But there's a guy that went around and he was like a multimillionaire, and he used his money to travel the world in like 1903, right? And he went around and he filmed in color all of these different cultures and all these different people in their traditional garb and like doing their tradition and like got to know the people. He got to know all these different like Buddhists and monks in like China. And within the next decade, at the end of World War One, all of those people were wiped out completely. Gone. Culture gone. Costume gone. Books gone. Everything gone.
They just sacked the whole place, huh?
And this happened in Ireland too. The traditional Irish like garb of like the red, cape that they wore and the Irish houses that they built, like that was out of mud and like peat and stuff like that. Like they wiped those people out too. Those people are gone too. There's a lot of cultures.
Have you heard of the conspiracy?
Gone.
Have you heard of the conspiracy that the Bible actually goes back to the Irish people? Have you come across that one?
Well, they are all redheads apparently, so I do not know. I'm just saying that, like, I think it's valid to point that out, that the Irish, traditional Irish, society was gone. Like
society whitewashes
took them out their homes, forced them to put on shoes, and like would burn their capes, and like there's all kinds of all this crazy stuff that they did. And this is like not.
But here's what doesn't make sense.
This is the beginning of the 19th century, 20th century.
Here's what doesn't make sense. They whitewash everything in society.
Actually, it's the opposite.
Jesus was white. They whitewash the whole thing. Everybody is white. They whitewash everything. If these people were actually white, why wouldn't they let people know that?
Because then they would have to acknowledge that everybody in the world is connected, and that our history and our culture and these monstrous like feats, these monolithic feats, these temples like the Göbekli Tepe and Machu Picchu and Easter Island statues and the pyramids and all these things are connected. And then they have to go, well, what broke up this worldwide kumbaya session? Well, it happens to be the freaking banks. They'd have to answer to that. They would have to come up with more questions to answer. Sorry, they would have to come up with more answers to more questions. I really think that they just want to suppress it because they don't want us to know that we are capable of doing so much more than we know, and we used to all get along. It wasn't like black versus white or gay versus straight or male versus female or father versus son talking about politics or Democrat versus Republican. Like we all got along and we made amazing things all over the world, and all these cultures were connected. They want us to have like this national identity, and then they can get us to go to war with each other. In the early days in Israel, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims all lived together in peace. Well, they were all Abrahamic. They were the only three cultures in the history of the world that didn't sacrifice babies or women. Of course, they hung out with each other. I'm just saying. So we think that the mudfloods are it's idiotic. There's you haven't even found a shred of proof? No. I again, every time someone like has those pictures that they print, there's so many people that are making AI pictures out there and like saying that they're real. There's so many. I mean, there's a lot of shystiness, a lot of backdoor bullshit, and I don't know where it's coming from, and I don't know why they're doing it. I guess for clout. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't understand it. There's too much real shit. It's like people that go watch horror movies. It doesn't make any damn sense to me. The real world's freaking terrifying. I don't need to go watch a horror movie. I'll just read the newspaper. But all these cultures were connected. Yeah, there's the redheaded mummies that are in Peru. Yeah, the elongated skulls, just like they have in the aristocracy in Egypt, the mummies.
Let's see what else we got. Hold on. This is the first.
I sent you that video clip. That's the one I really want everyone to see because I think that it explains a lot more, a lot quicker than if I tried to explain it all myself.
Hold a sec.
Here's what you need to know.
Okay.
These monolithic structures, the more ancient, the more massive they are. The more ancient, the more precise they are. The more ancient, the more similar they are. These are the mummies that they're finding in what is China. These are actually the ancient Chinese. And they're freaking Aryan with red hair.
You're going to send a lot of people off the deep end with this.
I hope I can drag them back in. So I showed you pictures, man. I sent you papers. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, oh. Yeah, these are genetic research has shown that the oldest mummies, 2000 BC, are in the Tarim Basin, are Caucasian. East Asian people began showing up in Eastern China about 3,000 years ago. Yeah. And this is one of the pyramids they made. That's in Xinjiang. These people right here, the redheaded white mummies.
This is absolutely bananas.
I know. I hate the white man.
Right,
patriarchy. I know. I feel like joining a team right now too. Not only have been lied to, but everybody's white. That's BS. Also, if it's such a recessive gene, how come everybody freaking has it? Just saying. Just saying. Right? I'm just saying. Like, just do the math there. Yeah, doesn't make any fucking sense. So maybe they're lying about that too. I'm just saying.
Wow.
I can't prove it. I can't say definitively either way, but I'm just going to say, since if we're going to talk about conspiracy theories, I'm just saying the numbers lean towards that they bullshitted about that too. Because every person I know is a redhead that has a baby has one redheaded baby, at least one, maybe two. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Wow. Didn't see any of that coming. Oh Lord. So Tartaria, I'm still not understanding why they'd want to wipe that history.
Well, if you don't have nationalism, why would you ever go to war?
Yeah.
Right?
So was there a central banking system before the Rothschilds?
That's not my forte, baby doll. I do not know about that one. That's a question to be asked to someone who's a financial person. Like, I struggle with math. And I'm not good with money. Somehow I hang on like barely by the skin of my teeth. I do believe there is a God because I'm not broke right now. I don't know how it even happens. Money just shows up whenever I need it. It's always there when I need it. It's the way I'm terrible with finances though. So I do not know. I just know that this bank we have now is evil. I've never had a credit card. I've never had a car loan. I've never had a student loan. I've always was taught that, like, I read The Creature of Jekyll Island when I was 16, and I was taught, like, dude, if you can't buy it right now, you don't need to own it. You know, find a way around. So I never got a credit card. I never got a car loan. I just bought cars, drive them till the wheels fall off, right? And like save my money, like I was paying a car payment, and then I, would one up to now have a brand new car. Also, the crypto thing I got out just in time for the pizza bed, so I was able to like pay for a car payment.
Tell everyone where they could find you, because I'm sure some people are going to reach out to you
on Twitter. But I really want you to share that video real quick.
Oh, let me
Twitter
see if I
Frantic
can
Missy.
get
But I
it.
want you to share that video that I sent you
You
because this is
texted it to me though. Can you email it to me?
no, because it's too large. I forgot it's too large to send as a attachment in an email. Sorry, my brain. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning, and it's like pushing, running around for what 12 or 14 hours. So my brain is not 100% right now. Plus, I've been reading all day, so. Yeah,
Okay,
you might have to email it yourself. I don't know how to do that. It won't let me. It's a clip I took where I just screenshotted it.
No, I just clicked on one and it was a floppy penis driving a bicycle. I don't think that.
Oh, well, you gotta have goals.
Yeah.
Of course I sent you that. Why would I not send you that?
Thank you for
I feel
sending me
anybody
that.
who doesn't send you floppy penises on bicycles.
Thank you. I really wanted to see that right now.
Exactly. Well, brightened your day.
Let's see here.
Here it
I think
is.
this
I'll
might be
resend
it.
it to you.
Yeah, this is it. Hold on.
Yeah, it's got the 100 kilometer wide. Yep, that's it. And this is from a documentary called The Revelation of the Pyramids, which is mandatory homework for anybody who watches this. Whatever you're doing, drop it. Go get a notebook because you're going to need it, and go watch The Revelation of the Pyramids because it's going to blow your freaking mind. And don't get high because there's a bunch of math in the middle. So don't smoke weed before you watch it. You might be tempted to, but don't. Wait.
This is a roughly 100-kilometer wide circle, and it covers.
Yeah, that's it. Don't you spoiler. Spoiler alert.
I have it. I'm just trying to. Sorry, guys. This is a little dead air.
If you're on your computer, why can't you just pull it up off the files, off the text messages on your computer? And then
wait, say that again.
Pull it. Don't you get your text messages on your computer? Just pull it up on your computer.
No, I don't have that. I took that off.
The smartest people in the room right now cannot figure out how to get a freaking screenshotted video into the.
I'll have to post it later. This is terrible. You know why I took it off?
No, we can't. You'll forget. It's so important. It's pivotal.
All right, hold on.
There's got to be a way around.
Where did you send me that from?
I made a screenshot from the movie because you can't find clips because copyright. People have lost their damn minds.
This is a roughly 100.
Save.
It's really pretty on my 4K TV. Let me try and email it again one more time, but I don't think it's going to take. What's your email again? It's Micah. What is it?
Use my private email.
It's somewhere I got it pulled up too. So just
NY. It starts with NY.
God damn it. Hang on. The smartest people you know, guys.
This is awful.
Oh no, it could be worse. So messages. I gotta go to my messages. That's okay. You can always edit this out, right?
I could always put the link in the description, to be honest.
No, this is epic. This has to be. You're gonna have to learn how to edit too, I guess. I can't. There it is. Okay. Gotcha. I think I figured it out. I already have your email saved under your freaking. I'm so Missy tired. 5 o'clock in the morning catches up to you, Okay, so check your email. Hang on, it's loading.
Come on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on, you can do it. I know. You just have to take a chunk out in the middle. You're gonna pose as just doink doink. There, it's sent, so it should be in your email now. Smartest people you know, guys. Oh, I'm a lot of things, but I'm technically retarded. So it should be in your email now. So you can just pull it right up on the screen, share screen.
This is a roughly 100-kilometer wide circle. And
I tell people I'm horrible with technology, and they laugh at me. I'm terrible with technology.
You know, there's different kinds of intelligence. Some people are book smart. Some people are street smart. Some people are good at playing instruments. Some people are good at memorizing facts about history and conspiracies for no apparent reason, and not good with computers. It's part of the deal. The fact that I even have like my studio set up is like a freaking miracle. And if it weren't for like Rantcast walking me through what to get and what to buy and how to put it together, I wouldn't have this at all. Yeah, just don't just cut a big chunk out in the middle.
Oh, Lord.
It's the blind leading the retarded. I've also been slumping this whole time because I didn't want to do this because it makes a squeak.
I need to hire an assistant.
Huh?
It's not working. I can't do this.
Ah, fuck it. I give up. Today's been a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just
I'm sorry, guys.
If anybody's still with us.
How about if they message you on social media, you'll send it to them?
Absolutely. Frantic Missy on Twitter, at Frantic Missy. This clip is epic. I can't put it up on Twitter because it makes me try to cut it. But if you cut it, it takes away from the majesty of the whole thing being put into one, nonstop.
No, if you DM it, it should be longer than 2 minutes and 20 seconds if you could DM it to someone.
I can't put it on Twitter. It won't let me. For like if it's more than like 2 or something minutes. Yeah. Like it makes me cut it. Because I'm just screenshotting it. I'm like recording it from the screen because again, technically retarded.
So Missy, where else are you? You got a radio show now?
No, I have a show on Saturday nights that's going to be live. It's like kind of like coast to coast, but it's funny. What we do is we have the first hour that's just going over the news, like wild, crazy. Like we went over the Trump NFT thing. It was super hilarious. And I have a partner that I work with. His name's Traveling Fools, or TF. His name is his real name. But we actually have a brand new YouTube channel that we set up called the Smoking Gun Cafe. And if you go on there, you'll see our live show, and it's going to be every Saturday night from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the first hour is news and like weird and wild, wacky like stories or videos or viral videos. And the second hour is going over one of the items from the either paranormal or conspiracy iceberg. And we're going to start bringing in guests in like a month or so or whatever. But for now, it's just me and him trying to get used to our dynamic. And then in the third hour, we have guests that we bring up on the panel one at a time to ask questions to myself or my partner or whoever we have as a guest. So it's like people come up on StreamYard through the link and are actually live on the panel with us, and we all can go over questions. So it's like Coast to Coast 3.0, but with humor in the beginning, and like guests that are really, valuable in like their contributions. I'm working on I can't say right now who it is, but I've got some pretty big fish that we're putting in the fryer. So
nice.
It's going to be, I think it's going to be epic.
Yes.
And then also I've got a show tomorrow night, which is Friday, the 13th. Ooh. Yeah, Friday the 13th on YouTube. It's linked on my Twitter profile, or it's linked on my Twitter page or whatever. But it's going to be a true crime run through live on YouTube about Brittany Drexel and Madeline McCann and all the weird and wild and wacky stuff that happened with those cases and how like off the wall that whole thing is and how I think they arrested the wrong guy. So,
there's a quote that I gave in one of my books, and there's a quote that I always use, and it's from Socrates, and it says, "Employ your time." It's called "Employ your time by reading other men's writings, so that you can come easily by what others have labored hard for." And that's what it's like talking to you. You give in 1 hour, you give a breakdown of people so they fully understand the deal. They have rabbit holes to go down, and this is so informative. This is the kind of stuff people need to watch. People put such half-assed stuff on the internet. It's just.
Oh, well, one of the greatest criticisms I've ever received from someone was like, you're not as factual as Whitney Webb. And I'm like, yeah, I'm also not as freaking famous as Whitney Webb. But thank you for that piece of advice. And ever since that happened, like I've taken that to heart. And so now when I speak, I bring the bacon, I don't just show up empty-handed being like, I think this didn't happen. I mean, sometimes I might not remember everything. I might be led down a trail that I have to pull up on my phone, like the article or whatever, because it's just, you can't write everything down. It takes forever. I mean, this was, 6 hours of hardcore coming up with stuff to tell you guys now and trying to find a way to like fit it into the most, bite-sized amount of time. 90 minutes is not a lot of time. But yeah, I mean, someone said, you're not as well researched as Whitney Webb. And I said, watch me. So that was the day I like got it together, and now I have notes, and I try to come at things like from a very, pseudo intellectual is what they like to call us. Basically, that means you didn't pay $100,000 for a piece of paper. So, you're not in the cool club. So, I just try to give
people, the best people you'll ever meet, the most intelligent, the most fun, the most interesting people you ever meet, don't come from academia. They're self-taught.
Well, I mean, I can drink and like hook up with a bunch of random dudes and completely like destroy my parents and break my parents' heart and not do my laundry at home. I don't know why I have to go off to school to do that. I mean, seriously, like sororities and like fraternities crack me. I'm like, these are the guys that are going to be president. Like these guys were president. Like these guys that are such big dorks that they had to like join a fraternity to pay for their friends. How were they electable? I don't understand. Do these guys help them become electable? Like there's a lot there where I don't understand like why anyone would have to pay for their friends. I mean, I make friends in the grocery store line all the time when I bring up like the Queen's a Lizard person and the CIA is watching us, and people in the line are like, yes, that's right, girl. Like every time. Sometimes I just do it to see what I can get away with. Sometimes I just like try to push the Walmart threshold. I'm like, look, that person's in pajamas, right? That woman is definitely not worn a bra for like 10 years. I was like, let's just see what crazy things I can say. And just see like how long it takes to be like, I've worn out my welcome. And the sad thing is, it's always like some of the people turn around in line and everyone starts talking. It's the craziest thing. I think there's a lot more people. They're trying to tell us, again, that we're separated, we're isolated, we're individualistic, we're not right, we're wrong, we're crazy people, we're kooks. And oh, by the way, we all follow Q, and JFK Jr. is definitely not alive, and we're messed up for believing that. And J6, right? Like all that stuff, right? We're rebels. How dare you go to a parent-teacher conference? Like, you asshole, right? How dare you go to tell the school board what you think, you asshole? Like, oh, you homeschool.
Now it's all about the
like all that stuff, right? But everyone is like that now. It's we live. Everyone's like, it's clown world. I'm like, really? Because all I see are people that are not clowns. Everyone's like woken up. It's crazy how you can just have a conversation in a Walmart line, right? Waiting to go like pay for your stuff, right? And you're talking to one person, and the next thing you know, everyone in line is like turning around to tell you like, oh, I knew this happened. Oh, I know they killed Avicii. Stuff like that. Like, it's crazy. But that's the problem. Most people won't talk about it in person. And that's why I make a point to put my face out there. It's not because like I think that, I'm special or I'm smarter than anybody, or not anybody. Anybody could do what I just did today. Anybody. If they took the time and like knuckle down, anybody could do what I did today in 6 hours. So I'm not special, trust me. And I'm not brighter than anybody else. I have good ability to retain knowledge, but when I'm tired, it goes right out the window. So it's pointless. So my point is like, nobody is more smarter Yeah, I said more smarter. Nobody's more smarter than someone else. It's just about like taking the time, getting out there and doing it, and knowing like legit, you are not alone. We are not alone anymore. Maybe like 4 years ago it felt that way, but that's all the media just doing what the media does and lying. We're bigger than we know. We are not a minority community of conspiracy.
No, we're not.
Everybody's
Everybody's talking about the gas stove right now. It's just it's the new thing. It's the new thing, right?
Well, I mean, I get it. 6 million people. I mean, I can understand why they'd have a problem with that. Sorry, I was pulling a page out of the AOC handbook.
It's okay. Missy, one more time. Where is everyone going to find you?
Twitter, Frantic Missy, at Frantic Missy. And I recommend that anybody that's on there, when you pull up my profile, if you see a purple ring around my picture and you click on my face, it'll say join space. And you're on your phone. You can't do it on the computer, but on your phone. Click join space because I'm probably talking to some people that are interesting or embarrassing myself on a Friday night. Or I'm doing a comedy show on Sunday night that I do on there called Who's This, What's That? But Twitter Spaces, it's literally the most amazing way for us to communicate and talk to each other so we don't feel alone, because we're more than we realize. We're bigger numbers than people realize. And none of us are crazy. We just happen to think outside the Rockefeller education box. So if you see a purple ring around my face, click on it and go to join space and listen or participate. There's a lot of good conversations happening right now. And the more of us speak up, the more they can't lie and say that we don't exist.
Missy, thank you, love. I really appreciate you being here.
I love you, Micah. I'm sorry I'm not more organized tonight. I mean, I came organized, but I'm just freaking tired, man. That 5 o'clock in the morning for 4 days in a row gets to you. I'm wrecked right now.
It's okay. I'm going to put this up right now, and I will text you in a few.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I promise next time I'll be better.
No, you're never better, but I love you anyway.
I'm never better.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bless your heart.
Bye.
Bye.